Yeah, and especially with all this shit that's going on in the news right now, I feel like it's kind of a little bit important to talk about this, only because there's been other shit in the past saying, "Oh, video games cause violence," and all that fucking bullshit.
Right. So, skull drilling. Yeah.
I did research, and I got a list of fucking clips and fucking other videos from history showing how much fucking violence there is in cartoons. That way, boomers can't come back at us saying, "Oh shit, it's all the millennials fucking causing drama."
Right, because they were raised with just as much violence or more than we have now, so...
Yeah, especially like with this first one. It's trepanation. Like, who the fuck talks about that anymore?
Skull drilling. So basically, it's like drilling a hole in the skull to, like, remove pressure or something.
There's a thing from, I think it was Saw 3. There's a scene where John Kramer, he had to get I forget the name of the fucking procedure, but there's a scene where one of the victims he trapped with Amanda, she had to do like a skull procedure on him because there's too much pressure in his brain from his brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to look for it. It's like a craniotomy or something like that.
Yeah. Also heard something about people doing that to, like, relieve pressure on the brain for, like, people with like schizophrenia and things of that nature, and like things like Asperger's. They did that back in the day to try to relieve pressure on the brain to try to fix it and things. It's basically the same thing as electrocuting. You know how they would electrocute people's skulls to try to fix their mental illnesses or something.
Yeah, and if you even look even further, before we had all this technology and shit, look at the fucking bubonic plague.
Right,
People
right.
people thought it was caused by like really bad smells and shit. And like if you go even back before that, trypaning or however the fuck you pronounce it, it's been around since like Neanderthal times.
Right. Extremely old medicine.
Extremely stupid medicine, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was, and I don't even know if it even worked. Same thing with electrocuting brains and stuff like that. See, there was very odd forms of medicine in the past. One of the most commonly known ones was leeches on bruises. You know, like how people put a leech on a bruise and it just sucks it all up and makes it go away. See, that worked. That doesn't mean it was like healthy or sanitary, but
Actually, people still do that today. Like, especially, let's say
it's just not as common.
No, they do it for like amputation surgeries all the time now.
Really?
Yeah, let's say you got your fucking hand chopped off, okay? There's going to be like a lot of old clotting blood in your dead hand before it gets reattached. So what a doctor might do is they'll put leeches on your hand because in their saliva they have this like anticoagulating thing. It thins out your blood.
Mm-hmm.
They suck out all the old blood so that the new blood can flow through your hand so your hand doesn't fucking die.
Right, because they don't want to reattach your hand with blood clots or else it'll flow into your bloodstream, give you stroke and heart attack.
Yeah.
So yeah, trepanation.
You know what else gives you strokes and heart attacks? Alcohol poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a nice little segue to the next cartoon that we've got here.
Pilot episode of Tom and Jerry?
I don't think it's a pilot episode, but I want to say it's one of them. It came out during like the 1940s, and it has a bunch of like imagery of like martini glasses and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that also kind of ties into, I think, the one after the third one, which is Who Framed Roger Rabbit intro.
Yeah. Because in that one there was that was like the rabbit, and there was a fucking baby that was playing around with all sorts of shit like knives and shit like that. Dangerous stuff.
And like I think I don't want to say it's a funnier part, but it's like the more kind of like plot compelling part in the Who Framed Roger Rabbit scene. Like after the recording session, turns out the baby sounds like a fucking 40-year-old man who's been smoking like 5 packs a day.
Yeah. That's what happens when it gets a hold of stuff like that.
Nugs, not drugs, kids.
Mm-hmm. You know, back to the subject of Tom and Jerry, that show, it's so the justice in that show, I guess, is what some people call it. And also the comedy is that it's a little mouse that's totally kicking the cat's ass, like, all the time. And I guess that's funny because no matter no matter what the mouse does, like all the violent shit that the mouse does, like crushing the hand's cat in mouse traps, fucking dropping hella shit on his head, it's still considered okay because the mouse is a smaller thing, a smaller creature that is weaker. Imagine if the cat, which is obviously bigger and stronger than a mouse, imagine if the cat was the one smashing the mouse and things and dropping shit on it and just being a fucking abusive dick. It's kind of like a double standard.
I mean, you can also kind of like apply this to like a more political standpoint with minorities and majorities fighting against one another.
Right.
Because look at all the shit that's happening now, especially with like Black Lives Matter and all that.
Yeah.
I think like the whole Tom and Jerry like slapstick violence kind of like kickstarted something within society saying, oh, violence like this is okay as long as it's animated.
Right, like it was a very subtle normalization.
It's almost like have you ever seen those things about fucking Disney and the Lion King having like a bunch of subliminal messages about sex and shit?
Oh, I've seen a bunch of stuff about Disney movies having stuff like that.
It's like that. It's just kind of like almost brainwashing people into doing whatever the fuck you want them to.
Yeah, because it's a lot of that stuff like that in kids movies isn't super straightforward. It's very subtle. So like in the back of people's heads, it's kind of like normalizing things like that to children, and I guess to adults, but movies and shows that are directed towards children.
Yeah, and I think another thing about it is that like it kind of reminds me of trying to think of the name of it. I think it's 1984. It reminds me of that story by it's the same guy who wrote Animal Farm.
Yeah, I've read Animal Farm.
Yeah, in the plot of 1984, it's basically just all about this guy having fucking thought crimes because he falls in love with this girl. And the government is like totalitarian dictators, like the literal definition of them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene in it where the government finds out that the guy and the girl are having a fucking relationship, and they fucking tortured the two to fucking like no end.
Jeez.
And then the guy asks, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to us? And one of the government agents says, because we want full control of everything.
Huh.
It's a really fucking good story.
Yeah, that's neat. Think of where that stands today. Like a message like that.
Like, look at fucking, like how people, how people chip dogs so that they don't get lost?
Yeah, like putting cards.
I'm pretty sure people are starting to do that now with people.
Yeah, people have been talking about that for years, about chipping humans. And I mean, it's not like it's hard. You know how many shots people get as like babies as soon as they're born? It wouldn't be hard at all to chip someone without people knowing.
Yeah, but the thing is, people are getting like vaccines and shit mixed up with Big Brother totalitarianism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at all the anti-vaxxers now.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing going on about this until recently. And if there was, I live under a fucking rock.
You mean about anti-vaxxing and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like even like okay. I don't know if you've heard about this, but Kanye West is apparently running for president now.
Yeah, he is, from what I've heard.
His party is called the Birthday Party.
Clever.
And apparently he's an anti-vaxxer.
Kanye West is?
Apparently. Yeah, you called him a mark of the beast or whatever.
Wow. That's odd.
I mean, I could be wrong. Let me look it up real quick. Yeah, he's a fucking anti-vaxxer.
So speaking of corrupt governments and shit like that, what about the next thing that you got on the list? Ductators. It's
okay. It's literally Donald Duck
as Hitler.
As fucking Hitler.
Yeah.
Do I need to say more? I don't think so.
And towards the end of that video, wasn't there a message about like buying stamps and things to help win the war for funding and shit like that?
I think so.
Was it stamps? There was some kind of message towards the end about the government wanting people to buy something to help fund the war.
I mean, that kind of goes along with what the USA used to do back during the World War II because they would ration every single thing.
Mm-hmm. Which was needed at a time like that.
Yeah.
Like depression times and stuff. The economy was fucked over.
No, but if you look through the fucking Ductators video, there's a lot of shit about like race and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if you skipped it around like almost the 4:45 mark, there's a duck that looks pretty questionable if you ask me.
Is that the one that came in the water?
It's the
From
one
the water?
holding the Japanese flag.
Yeah, I know that one.
But like this is the shit I'm talking about.
Yes, there was stereotypes. Yeah, stereotypes put into those videos to.
This is the shit that like stems the violence. People are normalized to it. People are saying, hey, this is okay. And they interpret what the message is completely differently than what it's supposed to be.
Right. Because, like, when that was originally made, they're fucking ducks. It's not like there's any, well, at least not from what I saw, that there's any, like, message about racism and stuff like that. It was just talking about how, they had allied freaking Germany and places like Japan.
Yeah.
Politics. Ew.
Ew, politics. This is going to be a major turnoff for the first fucking episode.
Hey, Rusty, not even Rusty, we're just starting out. Awkward silences.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to edit most of the awkward silences out, though.
Yeah, viewers, you're lucky. Woohoo.
You know who really is lucky? That baby from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I've never seen anything get more lucky than that. Like, literally, have you watched Deadpool 2?
No.
Okay, well, there's a girl, and I'm pretty sure she's just called Luck, where her superpower is just, like, luck. Like, she doesn't do anything special. She's just, like, walking through, like, she's just walking while there's, like, shit blowing up everywhere, and things are just, like, barely missing her, and there's, like, a car that just barely, like, doesn't completely crush her and shit. So it's kind of what I thought of when I watched the Who Framed Roger Rabbit opening scene, because that baby was just like so many close shaves with fucking knives and fire and shit flying everywhere.